In Reframing Organizations, Artistry, Choice, and Leadership, Bowman and Deal argue that the proliferation of complex organizations has made it more difficult for leaders to fully understand and address the problems their organization may face. Prior experiences may bias how a leader identifies the root cause and solution to a problem. As a result, they may completely miss an important factor. Bowman and Deal advocate reframing the problem through different lenses. After reviewing years of recommendations and theories, Bowman and Deal identified 4 frameworks for analyzing organizations. These include the structural frame, the human resource frame, the political frame, and the symbolic frame. Before we begin, here are a few important points about Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is a holding company, which means that it is the controlling shareholder in all of the companies it owns. While you can buy products from companies Berkshire Hathaway owns, like Pampered Chef, Duracell, Benjamin Moore, and Dairy Queen, technically, Berkshire Hathaway does not manufacture any products. Instead, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and the leadership team at Berkshire Hathaway are like the investors on the television show Shark Tank. They analyze existing business ventures and offer to buy or invest in businesses that are doing well and fit their criteria for acquisition. Unlike most investment speculators, Berkshire Hathaway then works with leadership of the acquired company to increase its strength and profitability. You will learn more about their business model as we work through each of the frames. Since Berkshire Hathaway does not fit the traditional image of a company, we just wanted to provide you with a quick introduction. Now let's dive into the frames. First up is the structural frame.
According to Bowman and Deal, the structural frame examines the social architecture of an organization. It involves asking the questions, how do we allocate responsibilities across different units and roles? And how do we integrate diverse efforts in pursuit of common goals? The goal of structural analysis is to understand how the design of the structure enables people to do their best. If there are structural flaws within the company and performance is suffering, engaging in problem solving and restructuring may be necessary. Elements to examine in the structure include goals, strategy, form of the company, division of labor, and policies. At Berkshire Hathaway, the primary goal is to grow wealth for their shareholders, and their secondary goal is to do this while also being good citizens. Berkshire Hathaway grows wealth through strategic investments that include acquiring controlling and non-controlling shares in companies that are performing well and are interested in being acquired. They also repurchase shares of Berkshire Hathaway to ensure good stock performance for their shareholders. Finally, they're good stewards of the money that they earn. To achieve their second goal of good citizenship, they work hard to model the way for good corporate governance and behavior. Berkshire Hathaway operates under a philosophy of decentralization. Companies acquired by Berkshire Hathaway are maintained as subsidiaries with autonomy in their own policies and governance structures. As a result, the division of labor within the subsidiaries are determined by the corporate officers of that entity. There are only about 24 individuals who work in the main office of Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett makes most of the decisions about acquisitions. There are 2 other executives who are also responsible for managing acquisitions. And input from the board is not required, but if the board voices concern, usually the pursuit of an acquisition will be dropped. The policies of Berkshire Hathaway reinforce their strategy and their brand. For instance, in acquiring new companies, the policy includes investment in companies with honest leadership. In addition, it's up to the target company to set the offer price for the acquisition, which Berkshire Hathaway will either accept or reject. Finally, once a company is acquired, it's Berkshire Hathaway's policy to be committed to retaining the company and helping it grow. It doesn't engage in practices that gut the company and resell it for profit. The company becomes part of the Berkshire Hathaway family. Clearly, as a top-performing company, Berkshire Hathaway has a solid structure. Its division of labor, however, may be an area of concern since so much of the work of acquiring and advising subsidiaries lies in the hands of so few individuals.
For the human resource frame, we're going to consider 3 questions. Who are the employees of the company? What commitment does the company make to their employees? And are employees happy? Berkshire Hathaway owns controlling interest in 65 distinct companies. They are a massive organization with 360,000 employees, 53% of which are female. The 3 most common racial groups are 61% white, 15% Hispanic, and 10% African American. The average salary of the company employee is $68,686. 37% of employees are between the ages of 20 and 30, while 24% were between 30 and 40, and 27% were over 40 years old. The company is surprisingly diverse, with a wide range of ages and a majority of employees who identify as female. Most surprising is that 31% of employees have 5 to 7 years of employment. That tells us that turnover is low considering the size of the company. The company has a very poorly designed website, so it was difficult to identify any public-facing vision, mission, or any statements of commitment to employees. However, Warren Buffett talks quite a bit in his book, Secrets from the Berkshire Hathaway Managers, about their company's commitment. He personally holds his management team to an extremely high ethical standard. In fact, he tries to only invest in companies that are already run by highly talented and likable managers. Of course, the company offers benefits, but most interestingly, they have an extensive internship program that mentors university students in nearly every aspect of the business. They have very low management turnover and have decentralized their organizational structure. So each of his 65 companies have their own CEOs, management teams, and distinct cultures. Like any major corporation, you have staff who leave on bad terms. However, according to Glassdoor, who's an independent provider of employee reviews, 71% of former employees would recommend working for the company. 88% approve of their CEO, and the majority believe that it's a good workplace environment.
Now we're going to talk about the symbolic frame. Bowman and Deal state that the symbolic frame focuses on how humans make sense of the chaotic, ambiguous world in which they live. Meaning, belief, and faith are its central concerns. Meaning is not given to us, we create it. They also state that the symbolic frame addresses people's needs for a sense of purpose and meaning in their work. It focuses on inspiring people by making the organization's direction feel significant and distinctive. We're going to talk about what is the culture of the company when we're referring to Berkshire Hathaway, and how is this revealed through its symbols, through myth, vision, and values. Myth. As Bowman and Deal state, the story behind the story. Well, for Berkshire Hathaway, the story behind the story, the man behind the myth, is Warren Buffett, also referred to as the Oracle of Omaha. He is known for his honesty and integrity, and of course, his humanitarianism and altruism. He donated $31 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and that is a big chunk of his fortune, or his fortune at the time. He is personally credited with what Berkshire Hathaway has become today. He basically took a declining textile manufacturing company in the 60s, and he turned it into the conglomerate that it is today, with, I believe, it is number 7 on the Fortune 500 list. And Apple, who is one of its holdings, is in second place on that same list. Even now, there's a focus in the company on whether it can survive without him. He's 91 years old, and every year there are always publications on whether Berkshire Hathaway will survive without the story behind the story. Values and vision. As stated by Bowman and Deal, myths undergird an organization's values. Values characterize what an organization stands for. The values that count are those an organization lives, regardless of what it articulates in mission statements or formal documents. Vision. As stated by Bowman and Deal, vision turns an organization's core ideology or sense of purpose into an image of the future. It is a shared fantasy, illuminating new possibilities within the realm of myths and values. It's very difficult to sometimes put a defining line between values and mission. They are a lot of times overlap. Berkshire Hathaway's mission statement says, to deliver the right parts exactly on time, exceed our internal and external customer requirements through continuous improvement, and provide a place for hardworking, dedicated, knowledgeable, and ethical people who believe in the company. So you'll see the main themes, even in their mission statement, are exceeding expectations, but also improving lives. And though it is important to see what the values are for a company despite its mission statement, Berkshire Hathaway is known for living its mission statement and actually caring about and taking care of its employees. I found a few quotes, actually many quotes from Warren Buffett, two that stuck out that kind of play into his values and visions. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. And we look for 3 things when we hire people. We look for intelligence, we look for initiative or energy, and we look for integrity. And if they don't have the latter, the first 2 will kill you, because if you're going to get someone without integrity, you want them lazy and dumb. This basically speaks to how much integrity, how important it is to Warren Buffett and to Berkshire Hathaway. And then culture. Culture is both a product and a process. As a product, it embodies wisdom accumulated from experience. As process, it is renewed and recreated as newcomers learn the old ways. There is a long-standing controversy about the relationship between culture and leadership. Do leaders shape culture, or are they shaped by it? Bowman and Deal. So, Berkshire Hathaway is, of course, a sound business. It is strong in integrity-seeking. Its culture is surrounded. It encompasses the need for seeking integrity. And it's clear that Warren Buffett has shaped that culture rather than it is shaping him. So once again, the question revolves around, once Warren Buffett is gone, will the current Berkshire Hathaway culture remain? We asked this question a bit earlier in this frame, specifically, or just talking in general about the business, but a lot of the fear is because Warren Buffett is so integral to the culture, that will the culture remain, and therefore will Berkshire Hathaway still be the same when Warren Buffett is gone?
Finally, we are addressing the political frame of Berkshire Hathaway. The political frame allows us to understand the universality of political processes, why we'll never get rid of them, and also how to handle them moving forward. There is a mass amount of information about the political frame, and it could be taken quite a few ways given the money involved in Berkshire Hathaway. I'm going to address the key components that stand out against Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett's leadership style. There are 5 assumptions of the political frame. Organizations are coalitions of different individuals and interest groups. Coalition members have enduring differences in values, beliefs, information, interests, resources, and perceptions of reality. Most important decisions involve allocating scarce resources, deciding who gets what. Scarce resources and enduring differences put conflict at the center of the day-to-day dynamics and make power the most important asset. Goals and decisions emerge from bargaining and negotiation among competing stakeholders jockeying for their respective interests. Since we're all studying higher education, I'll first break it down in a matter to which we can all relate. Your university is an organization. Your academic and service divisions are interest groups. The humanities division sees art as vital to creating well-rounded humans, but the finance and budget team see it as a drain on the organization. This may sound familiar for some of you. Tuition dollars are a finite amount and enrollment is down. Art needs that funding to survive, but they're not bringing money back into the institution. Deans and managers may rely on their respective vice presidents to hash this out. The one with the most power will likely win. Do you have a prominent donor who likes to fund the arts, among other things? If so, maybe the art program stays, as you don't want to upset that donor. Or does your governing board think that the arts are draining and the space could be used for tech-based programs? If so, your art program is likely to be terminated. Berkshire Hathaway exists in the same manner and meets all 5 assumptions. The different companies represent the interest groups. Each of those companies have different values. Even the management teams within them do. When you're dealing with an investment company, money is the scarcity, and who gets it next is always the decision. How distribution works among current companies and new buyouts will always depend on who or which group has a stake in the investment. The manager as a politician. Leadership and politics often go hand in hand. Effective leaders must be able to mobilize people to accomplish the goals and missions laid forth for them. Even performance reviews note that those with better political skills are considered more effective leaders. So, enter Warren Buffett. To specifically exemplify this tenet, we'll examine one act by Buffett that might not seem political offhand. Buffett linked force with Linda and Bill Gates to create the Giving Pledge, an organization that challenges other billionaires to give away half of their wealth to philanthropic organizations before they die. Buffett actually pledged 99%. This is political twofold. While giving money isn't necessarily driven by politics, the public face of the Giving Pledge is to essentially mobilize non-billionaires to accomplish the goals of mass philanthropy. Additionally, by publicly announcing the charities that they are funding, leaders are able to sway politics. Buffett pledged a large sum to the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, which is a major funder for abortion rights. I'd like to share first that agenda setting is a theory in journalism, and we teach it super early on in our undergrad courses. And it has two principles. The first being that a gatekeeper can filter and shape the information that it wants people to see, and that the information is relevant depending on the amount of times the gatekeeper speaks on it. In organizational theory, it's very similar. Whatever information a leader or a gatekeeper chooses to disseminate, withhold, or reiterate will be their message to get what they want. So while we know Buffett is a funder of progressive foundations, we all still largely know him for his influence over investing and the politics there. No one thinks of Warren Buffett and thinks of his contribution to women's reproductive rights. We automatically consider him someone who has political influence over the investing world. His agenda for Berkshire Hathaway revolves around investing and how he can continue to advance his company and grant his employees the autonomy to do so. That's very important in his leadership style. Finally, let's discuss the political dynamics of ecosystems. Business ecosystems could be defined as the pulse of the business world. For example, Bowman and Deal note that when it comes to deodorant and Walmart, whenever Walmart says jump, manufacturers respond with how high. They completely change their packaging to fit Walmart. Berkshire Hathaway is also one of the keystone players that exist in this ecosystem. Berkshire Hathaway holds over 30 other productive, well-known companies in their own rights. While Warren Buffett doesn't believe in using leverage as capital, he does believe in finding struggling companies that could work and making them better. In this manner, Berkshire Hathaway inflicts influence over many different economic and thus political ecosystems.